Breaking news, everyone. As of today, Sunday, January 25, 2026, reports are absolutely flooding in from the front lines. And honestly, the footage we're seeing is unbelievable.
It's pretty wild.
Ukraine's new Dragon drones, and yes, they're exactly what they sound like, are currently wreaking absolute havoc on Russian armored columns. We are watching a real-time evolutionary deathmatch between Russian heavy metal and Ukrainian ingenuity.
And the metal is, well, it's melting, literally.
Before we jump into the thick of it, if you want to stay ahead of the curve on this war and understand the tech that is reshaping the battlefield, hit that subscribe button for defense reports.
It really helps us out.
We are your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Arya in the latest podcast by Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdown of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today we're going to cover the absolute cutting edge of this conflict.
And it is truly cutting edge.
We're talking about the clash between the Russian Turtle tank and the Ukrainian Dragon drone. Plus, get this, a piece of tech that is literally thinner than a human hair, but is defeating millions of dollars in electronic warfare gear.
It is a fascinating day to be looking at this. I mean, the pace of innovation we're seeing right now is just unprecedented. Military doctrine usually takes a decade, maybe more, to evolve.
Right, a generation.
Exactly. Here we're witnessing the death of old doctrines and the birth of something, well, something entirely terrifying and new in the span of just weeks.
Terrifying feels like the right word. We have tanks that look like moving barns. We have drones raining molten metal like they're out of a fantasy novel, and these tiny fiber-optic cables that are changing the entire game. We are going to talk about the Zaramangal, this Dracarys moment where drones rain 2,000-degree fire and the unseen tether that makes electronic jamming totally useless.
So where do we start? The tank, I assume.
Okay, let's unpack this. For you listening who haven't seen the video circulating this morning, we have to start with the turtle tank, or as the Telegram channels are calling it, the Zaramangal.
The king of all grills. It's a dark bit of humor from the soldiers on the ground, but it fits.
It really does. Visually, this thing is absurd. I want you to picture a T-72 or maybe a T-62 tank, a massive 60-ton Soviet beast, but you can't actually see the tank.
Not really, no.
It's completely encased in this massive, improvised steel shell. It looks like a garden shed or a mobile barn made of corrugated metal, grids, wire mesh. Just swallowed a tank whole.
Like something out of Mad Max, but clunkier.
Exactly. Clunkier is the word. It looks ridiculous.
It does. It looks almost like a prop from a bad movie, but we have to understand the deadly logic behind it. This wasn't some aesthetic choice. It was an act of pure desperation born from the slaughter of 2024 and 2025.
Right. When the Russian forces were getting absolutely hammered by those Ukrainian first-person view drones, the FPVs.
Exactly. These cheap commercial quadcopters strapped with RPG warheads. And they were hitting the weak points of the tanks with surgical precision.
The engine decks, the turret rings, all the thinner top armor.
All of it. So the turtle shell is essentially a physical standoff shield. The physics are pretty simple. If an FPV drone hits that corrugated metal shell, say 3 feet away from the tank's actual body,
it detonates early.
The explosion happens in that air gap. The jet of molten copper, the cumulative jet that's meant to punch through armor, it just dissipates into empty air instead of steel.
So it's not just physical armor. I saw these things are also equipped with mine-clearing rollers on the front and, crucially, those big electronic warfare jammers on the roof.
That's right.
The bubbles. The reports keep calling them jamming bubbles.
That's the terminology, yeah. They emit high-powered radio noise on the frequencies that drones use, usually 900 megahertz or 2.4 gigahertz. They create this invisible dome of interference.
So the idea was to build a breaching vehicle that's immune to explosions from above and jams the signals of anything getting close.
Exactly. It's designed to just plow through minefields while surviving that drone swarm.
But, and this is where the trade-off calculation gets really interesting, by building this unbeatable breach vehicle, they basically turned a tank into a blind bunker on tracks. I mean, looking at the design, the turret can't even rotate right.
That is the fatal flaw. To build this shell, they had to sacrifice almost everything that makes a tank a tank.
The turret traverse is completely blocked.
It is. So it's essentially a fixed-gun assault vehicle. It's closer to a World War II Stug or a tank destroyer than a modern main battle tank. But it gets even worse for the crew.
Oh, I can only imagine. The visibility must be zero.
It's claustrophobic and completely blind. The visibility slits are covered, they're obscured by the mesh and the metal sheets. The crew has a severe lack of situational awareness. They are slow, unwieldy, and deaf to the world outside.
So while they might have worked against the standard explosive drones, at least at first,
Right, for a time. But that lack of awareness has turned them into what a lot of analysts are now calling death traps.
that's a heavy label.
It's the reality, though. Because if that vehicle gets immobilized, throws a track, hits a mine, gets its engine disabled, the crew is trapped inside a steel cage that's often welded shut in places.
And now, with the new Ukrainian tech we're seeing today, that cage is turning into an oven.
Precisely. Which brings us to the sword that's defeating the shield.
The Dragon drone. I saw a clip of this earlier, and I honestly thought it was CGI. They call it Dracaries for a reason.
It is a terrifying psychological weapon as much as it is a kinetic one. The Dragon drone isn't dropping a grenade or slamming into the target, it's flying over it and just spraying molten thermite.
Thermite. Okay, just so we're all on the same page technically, that's a mix of iron oxide and aluminum powder, right? The stuff you see in industrial welding.
Yes, but weaponized for delivery. When that mixture ignites, it undergoes a highly exothermic reaction. It burns at over 2,000 degrees Celsius.
Which is what, like 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit?
Around there, yes. And some sources suggest with certain additives it can get even hotter, maybe approaching 4,000 or 5,000 degrees.
That is hot enough to melt straight through a steel engine block.
Oh, easily. And that is exactly why the turtle tank is obsolete against this specific threat. An explosive FPV needs to hit a precise weak spot. If it hits the barn shell, it fails.
But thermite?
Thermite doesn't care. The drone flies parallel to the tank and just rains down this curtain of liquid fire.
It's like a lava flow. It doesn't need to penetrate immediately, it just needs to land on top.
Exactly. Gravity does the work. It melts right through that corrugated steel shell like it's paper. It drips down onto the engine deck, burns through the rubber seals on the hatches, and ignites any external fuel tanks or lubricants.
And with the crew already trapped inside that metal box.
They're trapped in a rapidly heating environment.
Yeah.
But even if it doesn't burn the crew immediately, it blinds the tank completely. It melts the optics, the glass prisms, the sensors, any thermal cameras. A blind tank on a modern battlefield is a dead tank.
Wow. And the psychological impact. I mean, it's one thing to fear a sudden explosion. It's another to fear being rained on by liquid fire that you literally cannot put out.
Water won't stop a thermite reaction. It's brutal. It destroys cover, burns down windbreaks and forests they use for concealment, and just absolutely ruins morale.
It really shows how Ukraine is innovating to overcome these massive defensive structures. But the thermite isn't the only way they're getting past these things. We talked about those electronic warfare jammers.
Right, the invisible wall that stops radio signals. For a long time, that was the Russian ace in the hole. High-powered jamming to sever the link between the pilot and the drone.
But Ukraine found a loophole, or rather a loop of cable. This is the part that just blows my mind because it feels so retro.
Fiber optics.
Fiber optics.
This is, in my opinion, one of the most significant shifts we've seen in 2025 and moving into 2026. The fiber-optic drone. The concept is incredibly simple, but technically very difficult to pull off.
It's like those old wire-guided missiles from the 80s, right?
Yeah.
The TOW missiles.
Sort of. But this is a drone that can maneuver, not just fly in a straight line. Instead of relying on a radio signal that can be jammed or spoofed, the drone physically unspools a fiber-optic cable as it flies.
And the tech behind the spool must be the secret sauce.
It is. This strand of glass is thinner than a human hair, about 0.2 to 0.5 millimeters thick. But because the signal is traveling through light pulses inside a physical cable, it is completely 100% unjammable.
So the Russian EW bubbles, those expensive systems blasting noise on every frequency, they just do nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Zero. The Russian jammers are just screaming into the void, but the Ukrainian drone isn't listening to the air. It's hardwired.
So the operators get crystal clear, high-definition video feeds all the way to impact. No static, no interference.
None of those horizon issues where the signal cuts out when you fly low. It allows for a surgical precision that just wasn't possible before. With radio drones, you get close to a jammer, the video lags, and you lose fine control.
But with fiber optics, you can fly that drone right into the tiny gap between the turtle tank's shell and its tracks. You can target a specific engine vent or an open hatch.
The precision is incredible.
I have to ask about the mechanics, though. What kind of range are we talking about here? I mean, carrying a whole spool of cable has to be heavy. You can't be on a tether forever.
You'd be surprised, the spool is actually on the drone itself, so it unravels as it moves. There's no drag on the wire. And the Ukrainian prototypes, the production models now, are hitting targets 20 to 30 kilometers away.
20 to 30 kilometers.
And we are seeing tests pushing toward 50 kilometers. That's deep behind enemy lines, targeting artillery, logistics, command posts.
That's incredible. But surely Russia's trying to counter this. I read something in the briefing notes about fences.
Laughing slightly. This is where the cat and mouse game
Gets almost absurd. Yes, Russia has begun deploying rotating barbed wire fences.
Rotating barbed wire. Like a blender. Imagine a long fence powered by batteries that just spins on an axis. The idea is the fiber-optic drone flies low, trailing its cable. The cable settles on the fence, the barbs catch it, spin, and snap the delicate glass line.
So we have gone from high-tech electronic warfare jamming to literal spinning farm fences to catch a piece of string.
It's cyberpunk versus steampunk. It highlights the desperation. When high-tech fails, you go back to simple physics. But it's a localized solution. You can't fence the entire front line. It's a band-aid on a gaping wound.
This back and forth is just relentless.
Yeah.
And speaking of relentless, we have to talk about the Baba Yaga. This name keeps coming up. I know it's named after the Slavic witch from folklore.
A great bit of branding.
It really is.
And it has legendary status at this point. The Russians fear these drones immensely. In fact, Ukraine even unveiled a monument to the Baba Yaga in Vyshnev recently.
A monument to a drone. That says it all. So what is the Baba Yaga exactly? It's not a small quadcopter?
No, these are heavy industrial multi-rotor drones, usually hexacopters or octocopters. Models like the Vampire or the Nemesis. These are big beasts, capable of lifting significant payloads. Initially, they were just used as night bombers, dropping mortar shells on Russian positions while they slept.
Yet they've evolved. It's 2026 now. They're not just dropping dumb bombs anymore.
No, they have become motherships. This connects back to the range issue we discussed. The Baba Yaga has a strong signal link, usually through Starlink or other advanced comms. It can fly deep into the rear, 20 or 30 kilometers, and act as a flying signal repeater for the smaller FPV drones.
So the Baba Yaga carries the signal, and the little drones can swarm out from under it. It extends the deadly radius.
Exactly. It solves the line of sight problem. If you have a drone carrier in the sky, you can fly your suicide drones down into valleys or behind hills where radio signals usually can't reach. It democratizes air power.
But there's a new capability for 2026 that's really changing the strategic picture, right?
Guided munitions.
Smart bombs.
Yes. We've seen recovered Baba Yaga drones equipped with laser-guided munitions, likely the DK-30F.
So now they have precision airstrikes without the jets.
Right. Previously, dropping a mortar was a bit of a gravity game. You had to hover, aim with a downward camera, drop, and hope the wind didn't take it. Now, with laser guidance, they can strike from high altitude.
Which keeps the Baba Yaga out of range of shotguns or basic ground fire, and maybe even some of the jammers.
While delivering a tank-killing blow with pinpoint accuracy, Ukraine is conducting close air support missions, destroying tanks, hitting logistics, without risking a pilot or a multi-million-dollar aircraft.
And that brings us to the strategic picture. The economics of this are just wild. We are talking about what, a $500, maybe a $1,000 drone?
Taking out a tank that costs millions of dollars.
The cost asymmetry seems to be the defining feature of this whole war.
It is. Russia is relying on industrial mass. They're pulling old T-62s and T-55s out of deep storage, refurbishing them, welding these barns on top, and sending them forward because they can't produce modern T-90s fast enough to replace their losses.
It's the old Soviet saying, right? Quantity has a quality all its own.
It does, but Ukraine is countering that mass with precision and constant innovation. And there's another shift we need to mention. Ukraine is forming specialized hunter-killer units.
Hunter-killers? That sounds ominous.
It is. These units aren't just targeting the tanks anymore, they are targeting the operators. They're hunting the Russian drone crews, the control points. They use electronic direction finding to locate where the Russian pilot is sitting, and then they send a Baba Yaga or a long-range FPV to hit that specific dugout.
So it's a shift to targeting the source of the threat, not just the vehicle.
Exactly. If you kill the tank, they can send another tank. If you kill the skilled pilot, that takes months to replace. It's attacking the human capital.
So let's just summarize this whole cycle because it moves so incredibly fast.
Okay, so it goes like this. Ukraine dominates with cheap FPV drones. Russia adapts by building the turtle tank with physical shells and electronic jammers.
And the turtle tank works for a moment.
For a moment, Then, Ukraine adapts with the Dragon drone to melt the shell and fiber optics to bypass the jammers completely.
And now the turtle is becoming obsolete all over again. The shell is now just a coffin.
Pretty much. The added weight makes them slow, the lack of visibility makes them vulnerable, and the thermite turns them into ovens. It's a technological dead end.
It really feels like we are watching the end of an era for traditional armor.
We might be.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Why does this matter beyond the battlefield in Ukraine?
It matters because every military in the world is watching this. They are seeing that a massive, heavy manned vehicle is incredibly vulnerable to cheap, smart, or just plain destructive autonomous systems. If you are a NATO planner or a planner in Beijing, you have to look at the turtle tank and ask, is my main battle tank just a target?
Which leads me to a provocative thought to leave you with. We're seeing drones that can't be jammed and drones that can melt steel. Is the era of the manned main battle tank over? I mean, really over.
It's a very valid question. We're likely moving toward tanks with unmanned turrets, where the crew is buried deep in the hull in an armored capsule, sort of like what the Russian T-14 Armada tried to do.
Or maybe tanks just become motherships for their own robotic bodyguards.
That's a real possibility.
The turtle tank looks stupid. We can laugh at the barn on tracks, but it might actually be the ugly, primitive ancestor of future robotic warfare. The future might not be a sleek tank. It might be a heavily armored unmanned box that launches its own swarm.
Evolution is rarely pretty, but it is effective. And right now, efficiency is winning.
Incredible stuff. We're going to keep tracking this as reports come in. It is January 25, 2026, and the rules of war are being rewritten, well, every single day in Ukraine. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Arya, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.